We'll start with the development of midgut derivatives. Fine. So what are the derivatives of midgut? The midgut elongates to form a U-shaped primary intestinal loop. This U-shaped loop is suspended from posterior abdominal wall by a short mesentery, and at its apex it communicates with the yolk sac through a narrow vitelline duct, or also known as vitalointestinal duct. In adults, the midgut extends from just distal to opening of common bile duct in the duodenum to junction between the proximal 2/3 and distal 1/3 of the transverse colon. Okay. What you understood? We have a gut tube. Okay. This is your gut tube. Initially, it is in the midline and straight. Okay. Later, during the development of stomach and also the development of duodenum and other structures, it go under certain modification. While studying the development of stomach, we have seen your midgut taking this structure. What is this called? Okay. To learn the derivatives of your midgut, it is mentioned the midgut elongates to form a U-shaped primary essential loop. Okay. So this is the loop structure formed by your midgut. So this is foregut part, and this is midgut part, and this is hindgut. Okay. So in an enlarged pattern, your midgut will look like this. This is the posterior side and this is the anterior side. What are the structures we can see in the posterior side of midgut? We have posterior abdominal wall. In the posterior abdominal wall, we have dorsal aorta. Okay, this is your posterior abdominal wall, and this is dorsal aorta. And which artery supplies to your midgut? Which artery supplies to your midgut? Superior mesenteric artery, right? This is your superior mesenteric artery. These are the, stop talking. These are the structures we see on the posterior side. On the anterior side, we have an important structure, that is vitalointestinal duct. Okay. So now your superior mesenteric artery is present exactly in the middle of your midgut loop. So this superior mesenteric artery divide your midgut into two parts. This part is called precranial part and this part is called caudal part. Is it clear for everyone? Okay. You can see here, this is your midgut loop. Okay. This loop is divided into two by your superior mesenteric artery. The part above the superior mesenteric artery is called cranial part and the part below the superior mesenteric artery is called caudal part. On the posterior aspect, we have dorsal aorta followed by posterior abdominal wall. In the anterior aspect, we have vitalointestinal duct. We will see one more important structure in the caudal part. What is that? Cecal bud, which is present on the caudal part of your midgut loop. Any doubts? Okay. The superior mesenteric artery, that is the artery of midgut, runs postero-anteriorly through the middle of the mesentery of the midgut loop. The superior mesenteric artery divides your loop into two segments, that is pre-arterial segment, that is cranial part, and post-arterial segment. The pre-arterial segment is also known as cranial part and the post-arterial segment is also known as caudal part. The post-arterial segment near the apex of midgut loop develops a small conical diverticulum called the cecal bud at its antimesenteric border. Okay. So, in the post-anterior segment we have cecal bud. This is the cecal bud. Any doubts in this? So, during the development process, especially your intestine part, that is midgut loop, it come out of the abdominal cavity and the development takes place. Okay. So, here imagine this is a abdominal cavity. Okay. Inside the abdominal cavity, what are all the structures we can see? We have already seen the development of your stomach, right, and also liver and also the spleen part. Now here your intestine development is taking place, right. So during the development process we have already seen the enlargement of liver takes place and that forms the rotation in the 90 degrees so that your stomach will also move. So there will be no enough space for your intestine to develop inside your abdominal cavity at this point. So your intestine part will come out of the abdominal cavity in the loop structure. Okay, only in the initial days of development. After certain changes, again this structure will go inside your abdominal cavity. Is it clear? Any doubts in this? No doubts? So, the expanded part is now reaching towards your umbilicus. Okay, here you can see, this is your umbilicus, this is your loop region, midgut loop. It is not staying inside your abdominal cavity, it is going outside. In which form? Through the vitalo-intestinal duct. Okay, that is the remnant of your yolk sac part. You understood, everyone? So, to learn the development of your midgut derivatives, we have three important steps. What are those? The first one is herniation. The second one is rotation. And the third one is fixation. These are the three important points we see in the development of your midgut derivatives. What is herniation? What do you mean by the word hernia? Protrusion. Any other answers? Any structure that develops outside your abdominal cavity is called hernia, right? I already mentioned this loop part will come out of the abdominal cavity due to the shortage of space, because the development of liver and the enlargement liver is also taking place, that causes the rotation of your stomach also. So this part is called herniation of the midgut. This process is called the herniation of midgut, and this structure will be called as physiological hernia in the initial days of development. Okay. Any doubts in this? So the very first step is herniation, that means your midgut loop will come out of the abdominal cavity and it will start showing the changes or the development. That part is called herniation, and the midgut loop present outside your abdominal cavity is called physiological hernia, and this is just a temporary hernia, not a permanent one. Okay, after certain time it will go inside the abdominal cavity and start developing. Any doubts in the herniation? No doubts? Okay. The next part is rotation. How many rotation takes place in your midgut? 2 rotations. Any other answers? Any other answers? How many rotations we can see in the midgut? Okay, see here. This is your midgut loop. I have drawn the vitalointestinal duct and we have cecal bud. This is the post-arterial segment. This is the pre-arterial segment. We have these two parts by the division from your superior mesenteric artery, which is running in the middle of your midgut loop. Okay. The pre-arterial segment of midgut loop give rise to distal half of duodenum, jejunum and ileum. So this part here. So here we can see the duodenum followed by jejunum and ileum. Okay. Again here we have, that is in the post-arterial segment, the terminal part of ileum. Next we have cecum and appendix. I will write it close to your cecal bud, and then we have ascending colon followed by the transverse colon. Okay. This is how the derivatives will develop in your midgut loop. Next we have physiological umbilical hernia. During the 3rd week of intrauterine life, the midgut loop elongates rapidly, particularly in its pre-arterial segment. As a result of rapid growth of midgut loop and enlargement of liver at the same time, the abdominal cavity temporarily becomes too small to accommodate all the loops of the midgut, that is your small intestine part. Okay. Consequently, during the 6th week of intrauterine life, the loops of the midgut, that is your intestine, herniate through the umbilical opening. That is, it go outside the abdominal cavity to enter into remnants of your extraembryonic coelom. This herniation of intestinal loop through the umbilical opening is called physiological umbilical hernia. Is it clear? Any doubt in the herniation? No doubts? Okay, then we will move on to the rotation part. Okay. In the midgut, we will see 3 rotation. All the 3 rotations are 90-degree rotations. Okay. And all 90-degree rotation takes place in anti-clockwise. We have 3 rotation that takes place in the 90-degree angle, and all the 90-degree angle rotation takes place in anti-clockwise direction. Okay. First we have this, stop talking. First we have this structure. If it has to move in the anti-clockwise direction, which side should it should move? This side or this side? Anti-clockwise, this side, right? So this should move in this side, move in this direction. Okay. So the first 90-degree, okay. So now this midgut loop took a 90-degree anti-clockwise direction. So your pre-part, that is pre-arterial part, will now come into the right side. Okay. This is pre-arterial part, and the post-arterial part will go to the left side. So this is your post arterial part or segment. This is right side and this is left side. Other than that, we have vitalo-intestinal duct and the cecal bud. Superior mesenteric artery. This is how the first rotation of your midgut takes place, and this is happening outside the abdominal cavity. Remember this point. Okay. Now we will see how the second rotation will take place. So before the second rotation takes place, your pre-arterial segment will start showing the formation of loops. So that is nothing but your jejunum and ileum loops. Okay. There will be post-arterial part, but in the pre-arterial part it will start showing the loop formations. Okay. Okay. Once the loop formation takes place, then the second rotation will happen. So now how the second rotation will take place in the anti-clockwise manner? How the second rotation will take place in the anti-clockwise manner in the 90-degree angle. Okay. So this is your post-arterial segment, and this is your pre-arterial segment. After the second rotation, your pre-arterial segment, which was staying on the right side and also which is in the form of loop, that is intestinal loop, now will move towards the posterior side. Okay. So now this is present on the posterior side. As a result, your post-arterial segment will now present on the anterior aspect. Is it clear? Any doubts? All you have to remember is in the first 90-degree rotation, pre-arterial segment will come towards the right side and post-arterial segment will come towards the left side. Okay. In the second rotation, second 90-degree rotation, your pre-arterial segment will move towards the posterior aspect and post-arterial segment will move towards the anterior aspect. These are the points you need to remember. Okay. Any doubts in this? So what is going to happen in the third rotation? And remember, during the second rotation, again your intestinal loop are moving towards the abdominal cavity, or it will move inside your abdominal cavity. Okay. Okay. Listen everyone. We have seen the herniation part. Stop talking. Next we have rotation of the midgut loop. The rotation of gut occurs when herniated intestinal loop return back to the abdominal cavity. The rotation of gut not only helps in return of herniated loops back into the abdominal cavity, but it also helps in establishing definitive relationship of various parts of the intestine. That is nothing but your mesentery part, okay. The herniated loops of intestine begin to return into the abdominal cavity at the end of the 3rd month of intrauterine life. In order to return in the abdominal cavity, the midgut loop undergoes rotation of 90 degree in anti-clockwise direction for 3 times, okay. Thus, there is a total rotation of 270 degree, out of which first 90 degree rotation occurs within umbilicus, that means outside the abdominal cavity, and the remaining 180 degree rotation occurs within the abdominal cavity. Any doubts in these points? We have 3 rotation of 90 degrees, so the total is 270 degree. In that only the first 90 degree rotation is taking place outside the abdominal cavity, and the second and third rotation is taking place inside the abdominal cavity. Before return into the, this is the first rotation. Before returning into the abdominal cavity, the pre-arterial segment of midgut loop undergoes 90 degree anti-clockwise rotation. As a result, the pre-arterial segment comes to the right side and the post-arterial segment comes to the left side. I have already mentioned here, your pre-arterial segment will now come into the right side and the post-arterial segment will now come into the left side, okay. The pre-arterial segment of midgut loop elongates extensively and forms the coils of jejunum and ileum. So, the formation of the coils is taking place outside the abdominal cavity, which lie on the right side of the superior mesenteric artery outside the abdominal cavity, okay. Any doubts in the first rotation? Then we will see the second rotation. As these coils of jejunum and ileum return to the abdominal cavity, the midgut loop undergoes second 90 degree anti-clockwise rotation, so that coils of jejunum and ileum, which are derived from the pre-arterial segment, now pass behind the superior mesenteric artery. As I mentioned, your pre-arterial segment will pass behind the superior mesenteric artery. So, now the pre-arterial segment or the loops of your midgut is now staying on the posterior aspect, whereas your superior mesenteric artery and post-arterial segment is present in the anterior aspect, okay. As a result, the duodenum goes behind the superior mesenteric artery. And then we have the last rotation, that is third 90 degree rotation. Lastly, when the post-arterial segment returns to the abdominal cavity, it also undergoes the 90 degree anti-clockwise rotation. As a result, cecum and an appendix that develop from the cecal bud now comes to lie on the right side just below the liver. So, what is going to happen in the post-arterial segment? Your post-arterial segment is going to develop the cecum and an appendix from the cecal bud. There is the development of liver is also taking place. So, these structures will move towards the right side of the body, okay. Any doubts in this? No doubts? Okay. What is happening in the A picture or in the A diagram? This is showing the first 90 degree rotation, where your pre-arterial segment is towards the right side and post-arterial segment is towards the left side, okay. Then you can see the second rotation, where the yellow part is pre-arterial and the green part is post-arterial, okay. You can clearly see here your pre-arterial segment is going towards the posterior aspect. In front of that, we can see the superior mesenteric artery and post-arterial segment, okay. That is all about the second rotation. Next, we have third rotation, where your post-arterial segment is also taking a 90 degree rotation, from which your cecal bud is going to develop as a cecum and appendix. Okay, now you can see this is your pre-arterial segment which is present in the posterior aspect. In between we have superior mesenteric artery, on the above we have post-arterial segment. It is giving rise to your cecum and appendix. Any doubts? Any doubts in the rotation? No doubts? Okay. The ascending colon is not visible at this stage. Ascending colon is formed when the cecum descends to your right iliac fossa position. The transverse and descending colon also get defined. The transverse colon lies anterior to your superior mesenteric artery. So ultimately this is how the intestine will look in the adult structure. Your cecum and appendix, which we have seen here before, see, the cecum and appendix is present here, but later that will descend into your right iliac fossa region. Okay, now we have appendix, cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. Is it clear for everyone? This is how the derivatives of your midgut will develop in the abdominal cavity. Any doubts in the herniation and rotation part? No doubts? Okay. We will go to the fixation part. Fixation of mesentery of the gut. Initially, all parts of small and large intestine have mesentery through which they are suspended from the posterior abdominal wall. But once the rotation of the gut is complete, the mesentery of duodenum except its first part. Why? Why there is exception for first part of duodenum? Your first part of duodenum is going to develop from the foregut, not from the midgut. Okay. So, except first part of the duodenum, ascending colon, descending colon and rectum, it fuses with parietal peritoneum lining the posterior abdominal and undergo zygosis. In the yesterday class itself, I have mentioned the zygosis. It is nothing but the fusion of your parietal peritoneum and mesentery, and later it will disappear. Okay. As a result, these structures will become retroperitoneal in nature. The original mesentery of intestine now persists as mesentery of the small intestine, that is mesentery proper, mesentery of transverse colon, that is transverse mesocolon, mesentery of the sigmoid colon, that is sigmoid mesocolon, and the mesentery of the appendix, that is mesoappendix. This is how the fixation of your midgut will takes place. Any doubts in this? No. Next, development of cecum and appendix. How the development of cecum and appendix takes place from the cecal bud part. Okay. The cecum and appendix develop from the cecal bud. It is a conical dilation that appears on the post-arterial segment on the midgut loop near its apex, that is the site of attachment of your vitalointestinal duct. The proximal part of the bud grows rapidly and forms the cecum, while the distal part remains narrow to form the appendix. You can see here, this is the cecal bud. There will be growth in the cecal bud. The proximal part, that means the upper part, is going to develop as your cecum, and the appendix, that is the lower part, will remain narrow and it will develop as the appendix. That is all about the development of your cecum and appendix. Any doubts? Next, we have anomalies of the midgut. The very first condition is amphalocele. Okay. This anomaly results from the failure of coils of the small intestine to return into the abdominal cavity. I already mentioned in the development, whatever the structure that goes outside your abdominal cavity, it is only temporary. It has to come back inside your abdominal cavity. When it fails to come back inside or back into your abdominal cavity, it leads to a condition called amphalocele. Okay. This anomaly results from failure of the coils of the small intestine to return into the abdominal cavity from their physiological herniation into extraembryonic coelom during the 6th to 10th week of the intrauterine life. It occurs in 2.5 out of 10,000 births and could be associated with the cardiac and neural tube defects. Clinically, it presents as a rounded mass protruding from the umbilicus. This mass contains the coils of your small intestine and it is covered by transparent amniotic membrane. Here you can see. This is the condition of the amphilocoel. Okay. This is a thin transparent membrane, that is nothing but your amniotic membrane. Inside that we have the coils of small intestine which fail to move inside your abdominal cavity. So, during the birth it will come out of the umbilical region. Okay, here you can see. This is your umbilical region, from that it is coming out and it is covered by a protective sac, that is amniotic membrane. Okay. The next condition is gastroschisis. In this anomaly, there is a linear defect in anterior abdominal wall through which abdominal contents herniate out. It occurs lateral to the umbilicus, usually on the right. This defect is produced when lateral folds of embryo fails to fuse with each other around the connecting stalk. So, what you can observe in this picture? This condition is also same. Your small intestine is not went inside your abdominal cavity, it is coming out through your umbilical. But what is the difference between this condition and this condition? The protective layer is not there, and if you see here, it is usually present in the central part of your body, but here you can see it moving towards the right side. Okay. See, this is the difference. Any doubts? Okay. Anomalies of vitalointestinal duct. This is a very important question. Definitely you will get it for short answers. Okay. Vitalointestinal duct connects the apex of the midgut loop to yolk sac. Normally it disappears completely. The failure to disappear completely or in part will produce a condition called Meckel's diverticulum. A small part of vitalointestinal duct close to midgut persists and forms the Meckel's diverticulum. It may be connected to the umbilicus by a fibrous cord. It may contain gastric mucosa or pancreatic juice. There might be ulceration, bleeding, or even perforation of Meckel's diverticulum might take place. It may undergo inflammation, symptoms of which it mimic the appendicitis. So, how the appendicitis will cause? What is the reason behind it? So, you can see here, this is the vitalointestinal duct. During the development process, your vitalointestinal duct will usually completely disappear. If any part remains, that will lead to a condition called Meckel's diverticulum. You can see here. This is how it will look in your ileum region. This is the Meckel's diverticulum. Next we have the derivative of hindgut. What are the structures we see from the derivative of hindgut? Okay, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon and rectum, and also the upper part of the anal canal. Why only the upper part of anal canal? So, now this is how your hindgut will look. Okay, this is the hindgut. Which remnant of the yolk sac will open into your hindgut? Allantois. Allantois will open into your hindgut, whereas the vitalointestinal duct will open into your midgut. We have discussed this during the rotation of the embryo. Okay. So, now this opening of the allantois, the opening of your allantois will divide your hindgut into two parts. Okay. This is pre-allantoic part and this is cloacal part, that is post-allantoic. Okay. We have pre-allantoic part and post-allantoic part. Post-allantoic part is also known as cloacal part. From the pre-allantoic part, your transverse colon, sigmoid colon and descending colon will develop, and from the cloacal part your rectum and also your anal canal will develop. Okay, any doubts? We have hindgut, your allantoid will open into the hindgut, so it divides your hindgut into two parts. We have pre-allantoic part and post-allantoic part. Pre-allantoic part will give rise to your transverse colon, descending colon and sigmoid colon, whereas the post-allantoic part, which is also known as cloacal part, will give rise to your rectum and upper part of the anal canal. Okay. Development of transverse colon. The right 2/3 of transverse colon develop from the post-arterial segment of the midgut loop, whereas the left 1/3 transverse colon develops from the hindgut. This is the reason the right 2/3 of transverse colon is supplied by superior mesenteric artery, whereas the left 1/3 of transverse colon is supplied by the inferior mesenteric artery. Okay. Next, the descending colon and sigmoid colon will also develop from your hindgut. In many textbooks, they haven't mentioned any explanation for these two parts development. If I get any, I'll add it in the next class and I'll discuss. Okay. Right now, remember, transverse colon, descending colon and sigmoid colon is developed from the pre-allantoic part of your hindgut. Okay. Next, we have development of the rectum. The terminal dilated part of the hindgut, that is the post-allantoic part, is also called cloaca. It is divided into two parts by the urorectal septum. Here you can see, this is your allantois, which is ultimately open into your umbilical region. This allantois is dividing your hindgut into two parts. This is the pre-allantoic part and this is the post-allantoic part. From here, in this region, we can see the development of urorectal septum. This urorectal septum will grow or will develop and divide your hindgut part into two regions. From the ventral one or from the above part which is present to your urorectal septum, your urogenital membrane will the primitive urogenital sinus will develop, and from the posterior part, primitive rectum part will develop. Okay. It is divided into two parts by urorectal septum. A broad ventral part called primitive urogenital sinus and a narrow dorsal part called primitive rectum. This is the ventral part, which is primitive urogenital sinus, and this is the dorsal part, that is primitive rectum. The urogenital sinus give rise to the urinary bladder and urethra. This part we have already discussed in the development of urogenital system, while the primitive rectum give rise to the rectum and upper part of the anal canal. We will see how the development of anal canal will take place. The anal canal develops from two sources, that is hindgut and also the proctodium. Where you have seen the proctodium? Proctodium and stomodium. This is the cloacal membrane. Below the cloacal membrane, we have proctodium. This is nothing but your hindgut. On the foregut side, we have stomodium, right? The details are as follows. The upper half of the anal canal is endodermal in origin and it develops from the primitive rectum part, whereas the lower half of the anal canal is ectodermal in origin and it develops from the proctodium. Okay. Initially, the two parts are separated from each other by anal membrane. Later, when this membrane ruptures, the two parts communicate with each other. The site of anal membrane is represented by pectinate line in the adults. Okay. Here we have hindgut and we have proctodium. Between the hindgut and proctodium, we have anal membrane. During the development process, your anal membrane will disappear or it will go under the rupture. Okay. Once the rupture takes place, your hindgut will communicate with your proctodium. This communicated part, we call it as pectinate line in the adults. Okay. So, this is upper 1/3 which is developing from your hindgut, and this is the lower 2/3 part which is developing from the proctodium. That is why here we have only mentioned upper part of the anal canal, not the lower part. Okay. Here is the difference between the upper half and the lower half of the rectum. Sorry, anal canal you can see. So what are the difference between upper half and lower half of the anal canal? Upper half is endodermal in origin, lower half is ectodermal in origin. Upper half will develop from the hindgut and lower half will develop from the proctodium. What about the blood supply? Upper half is supplied by the superior rectal artery, whereas the lower half is supplied by the inferior rectal artery. Okay. Next, anomalies of the hindgut, that is the rectal fistula. The rectal fistula are frequently seen in association with the imperforated anus. What is imperforated anus? What do you mean by imperforated? Not properly developed. Okay. Any other answers? Okay. Imperforated anus means basically which is closed or blocked. Okay. The passage of the anus, either it is closed or blocked, that condition we call it as imperforated anus. The common type of rectal fistula are rectovaginal, rectovesical and rectourethral. The rectal fistula are usually associated with the rectal atresia. Can you see these diagrams and tell me what is the condition or what exactly happening? What is this? What is this? Rectum. So, where it is opening in the first case? It is opening into your uterus part, so that condition is called rectovaginal fistula. In the second part, you can see it is opening into your urinary bladder, that is rectovesical fistula. In the third condition, you can see the rectum is opening into your urethra part, so that is urorectal fistula. Okay, that's all about the anomalies of the hindgut.